The Philadelphia Eagles are 2-2 going into their Week 5 bye, and coming up on today's show on Eagles Now are major moves coming for Howie Roseman, Nick Sirianni, and this Eagles team. And could the Birds be making some sizable changes to their team going into the bye week, coming out of the bye week, with the Cleveland Browns awaiting at Lincoln Financial Field in Week 6? Let's dive in. So I do think that Philadelphia can do a better job of making a change offensively and trying to prioritize getting Jahan Dotson involved. I think anytime that your offense is more multifaceted, more diverse and versatile, you're always better off. And I do think that Dotson can be a solid receiver in this league because I've seen him be a competent receiver in this league. After all, he was a first-round pick, and in my previous job when I scouted him at Penn State, I thought that he was worthy of being a first-round pick. He had the highest separation of any wide receiver against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Yet, he only had 2 catches for 11 yards. And so far this year, Jahan Dotson, who the Eagles forked over a third-round pick for, has 5 catches for 29 yards, and his yards per catch is at 5. It's not good enough. Now, there are a lot of reasons for it, and I'm not going to really blame Jahan Dotson. I blame Jalen Hurts for not looking his way, not trusting him, and Kellen Moore for not getting him involved. Of course, when you have A.J. Brown and you have Devontae Smith, you have Dallas Goedert and Saquon Barkley, Jahan Dotson is weapon number 5. But you have to give the defense something else to game plan for and something else to think about. And Jahan Dotson can help Philadelphia do that. So Hurts' trust in Dotson is not there. That's something that they have to work on during the bye week, and hopefully that's a change that could happen for Philadelphia. Change number 2. It is time for Cooper DeJean to take over for Avonte Maddox in the slot. According to Pro Football Focus, Maddox is the 86th highest graded corner in the NFL. Translation, that's not good. He is 80th out of 98 corners in the category of coverage grade. Vic Fangio did say earlier this week, and we talked about this on the show, that Cooper DeJean is getting close. Keep in mind that he was hurt all throughout training camp, all throughout the preseason. He didn't make his professional debut until the preseason finale against the Minnesota Vikings, and these 2 weeks, going into the bye week, coming out of the bye week, going into this Cleveland game, could give DeJean that acclimation period to get caught up to speed, and a Vic Fangio, who is kind of that old school boomer who wants to be able to trust his defensive players, is saying that DeJean is getting close, then I think DeJean is getting close. More numbers for Avonte Maddox here in 2024. I think his best days are behind him as a backup slot and safety. That's one thing. Not a starter, at least not right now. Overall Pro Football Focus grade of 52.6. A coverage grade of 52.9. Run defense grade 48.1. A passer rating allowed of 88.7. And a yards per reception at 11.5. And of course, when you're playing young players, there are going to be some growing pains. There are going to be missed assignments. There are going to be great plays given up downfield by the opposing offense. You're going to have to live with that. Quinyon Mitchell, 22nd overall pick, looks like he could be the top corner in this draft class. He has been tremendous to start this year. But in that Atlanta game in week 2, on that final game-winning drive for Kirk Cousins in Atlanta, he gave up some big plays. He admitted his faults. But it's about learning from that, because when you learn from that, it allows you to get better. And I do think that with DeJean, he is a really dynamic player. We saw that at Iowa, and I'm looking forward to seeing that with the Eagles. My comp for him and how I want to see Cooper DeJean used is in the way that Steve Spagnuolo, the defensive coordinator for the Kansas City Chiefs, utilizes Trent McDuffie, a Swiss Army knife, a player who can do everything and line up anywhere as that versatile chess piece on the defensive side of the ball. And last year, McDuffie, 448 snaps out of the slot, 300 snaps out wide as a corner, 158 snaps in the box, 68 snaps along the defensive line. I want to see DeJean line up outside occasionally in the slot. I want to see him fake the blitz and drop back, because that could lead to the quarterback getting confused and him throwing an interception to Cooper DeJean. He had 7 of them at Iowa. 3 came back for touchdowns. I want to see Cooper DeJean stuff the run holes and stuff the run gaps, be used as a blitzer. That's how Vic Fangio has to utilize the Eagles' second-round pick from April's draft. How about Sidney Brown? We have not talked about Sidney Brown in a little while. Sid the Kid tore his ACL in January. He is getting closer to a return to the lineup. Recently, he was seen doing some sprints on the side field. The Eagles did put him on injured reserve to start the year, which meant he had to miss at least the first 4 games of the season. That is now surpassed. And in 2023, I thought he put together a pretty solid season. 5 starts, a lot of those coming down the stretch for an Eagles defense that was struggling mightily at the time. He did play 13 games, registered 45 tackles, a TFL, 3 pass breakups, and in that Arizona game, the 99-yard pick 6 of Kyler Murray. This is a player who ran a 4.4 in the pre-draft process. At Illinois, he was a thumper, a player who's really active, a player who's really physical. He can really tackle when he doesn't take himself out of position. And the Eagles need that on this defense. He had 15 missed tackles against the Buccaneers. And what Philadelphia could also do is when he comes back, he can be in that Troy Polamalu role. He can play deep safety, which then allows you to also utilize C.J. Gardner-Johnson out of the slot when teams want to spread it out and go wide. Next up, it's Devin White time. It just is. A healthy scratch the last 3 games, and with this defense playing so poorly, it's inexcusable. Get him on the field. You gave him $3.5 million in guaranteed money, and we have seen glimpses of him be an excellent player and a game wrecker in this league. He's a second-team All-Pro. He has that to his resume. During that Super Bowl run for Tampa Bay, Devin White was maybe the defensive MVP. He was incredible making game-changing plays. And last year, I know he struggled with Tampa Bay. He struggled over the last couple of years. But you know what the Eagles badly need? A playmaker on the defensive side of the ball. A player who's going to inject fear into the opposition. A player who's going to be able to cause issues, wreak havoc, go sideline to sideline, and just be a buzzsaw. And I know that Devin White can be that guy because I've seen it with my own eyes. Last year in a down year, 83 tackles, 49 solo, 2.5 sacks, 2 picks, 4 pass breakups in 14 games. He has 6 career multi-sack games. What has Philadelphia not been able to do this year? Get after the quarterback so he can help Philadelphia with their pass rush, which needs help at the very least. If Vic Fangio doesn't trust him dropping back in coverage as a coverage linebacker, fine. Let's see him coming off the edge. When you want to blitz, get Devin White in the game because I do think that he can impact the game for the Eagles defense. With that, we pop up today's poll question for today's show. Your level of confidence in the Eagles after the bye. I want you to scale it for me from 1 to 100. 1, 0 confidence in this team. 100, very confident. Let me know right now. Our sponsor for today's Eagles Now wouldn't be possible without our friends at Game Time. If you're looking for the best seats at the lowest price guaranteed, an app that owns the ticketing marketplace where prices drop as the event gets closer, where you're guaranteed to get in the door with the best seats at that lowest price. Download the Game Time app. And when you download the app, create an account, and you use the code CHATSPORTS, CHATSPORTS, you get $20 off. Terms apply. First purchase only. You can see the view from your seat before you buy, so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. You can access tickets from your phone, and if you need to, you can easily resell your tickets. Game Time Picks is a great feature because the curation makes it easier to find the best seats and save money. If you want to go to an Eagles game, Phillies playoffs coming up, Sixers training camp is underway, Flyers preseason is here. But also, you want to go to a concert, a comedy show, a theater event, those tickets are available on the Game Time app as well. What time is it? Game time. Download the app, create an account, use that code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your purchase. More potential changes coming for the Eagles. Could it include Isaiah Rodgers? Throughout training camp and in the preseason, he was running with the ones, and he was performing well. Coming off that gambling suspension. Obviously, he had that bad special teams penalty against Tampa Bay. He didn't even know the rules when he pushed his man into Cooper DeJean. That led to a fumble and points on the scoreboard for the Buccaneers. But in just strictly talking about the cornerback spot, Isaiah Rodgers has been a solid corner throughout his career. And the reason why he hasn't been able to see the field, Chase, play him instead of Avonte Maddox. Well, he can't and hasn't really played the slot. Just not an inside guy. He's more of that boundary, outside type of cornerback. If Darius Slay does continue to struggle, could Isaiah Rodgers take snaps away from Darius Slay? Slay so far this year, overall PFF grade of 66.4, a coverage grade of 67.3, a passer rating allowed of 129.7, and he's giving up nearly 15 yards per catch. Highest passer rating allowed among the cornerback position, or among quarterbacks, in the NFL. Darius Slay is giving up the third highest passer rating in the league. If he continues to struggle, because 3 games out of 4 this year he has, could be an opportunity for Isaiah Rodgers to get on the field, or we flip the page to Kelee Ringo, because could Kelee Ringo be in the mix? If he were to have come out of Georgia and enter the draft a year prior to when he did in 2023, he could have been a first-round pick. He fell because he did struggle his final college year at Georgia, but has all of the traits that you want in a corner. Long, physical, rangy, great speed, and I think that speed-physicality combo can lead to him being a starting corner in the National Football League. Last year, when he was thrust into action late in the year when Darius Slay had that knee surgery, I thought that Kelee Ringo played well in 116 coverage snaps. He gave up a passer rating of 74.1. That's not bad. And we saw that long speed. And in the preseason, we saw that he has some ball skills. Jalyx Hunt. I mentioned earlier that this Eagles pass rush is struggling. I never want to see Nolan Smith lined up against Chris Godwin in the slot. Vic Fangio, what the hell are you doing? I don't want to see Nolan Smith dropping back in coverage all that much, nor do I want to see that from Brandon Graham or Josh Sweat. Jalyx Hunt can do a little bit of that. Bryce Huff can't really do a little bit of that. He's playing out of position right now, which is partially why this Eagles defense is a mess. But with Jalyx Hunt, he's only played 5 defensive snaps this year. He is an athlete who can rush the quarterback and drop back into coverage. He, to start his college career, was actually a safety. So he does have that range and the ability to diagnose plays in the passing game, and he has that twitch and that power to be an edge rusher. When do you start experimenting? When do you start to give him more defensive snaps? That could be another major change coming out of the bye week as well. More Milton Williams is something that I want to see. Milton Williams is a good player, and we've seen that his first 3 years in the NFL, and he's made some really impactful plays so far this year in year 4. He can play defensive end in this scheme for Vic Fangio when he has that 3-4 alignment, or he can play defensive tackle. So if he were to play defensive end, he can flank Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, but if the Eagles want to bench Jordan Davis and they want to play Milton Williams a little bit more, I'm not opposed to that, because Jordan Davis has been a complete bust to start his NFL career. I don't get how he can be 6'6", 340 and not register a statistic against the Buccaneers a week after I thought he played really well against the New Orleans Saints. It's been so Jekyll and Hyde for him and Jalen Carter. Hopefully, they can find their groove as football players. That's going to need to happen, and if they don't, Milton Williams specifically taking over for Jordan Davis, that could be something that we see. This year he has a pass rush grade of 75.7, and I also like his tenacity and his hustle. So multiple changes that I think could take place for the Eagles going into the bye week and out of the bye week. What changes do the Eagles need to make? Let me know down in the comment section right now.